Y'all, the meltdown I had when I found out these existed. Hi, I'm Carly with Bookish Pixie Reads. Thank you for joining me today, and welcome if it's your first time. Today I'm going to be doing my October TBR. I'm trying to lean a little bit into spooky season, horror stories, that sort of thing isn't really my go-to, but I'm doing a little edging into spooky season. So, we'll see. But I've actually got a surprising amount of physical TBR. Most of my TBR generally is digital, library books and the like, but I have a stack of actual physical books and a little bit of digital as well. But I'm excited to tell you what I'm going to read this month. So my first that I'm really excited about is The Daughter of Time by Josephine. I have a really pretty folio society. If y'all know what folio society is, it's this company out of England, Daughter of Time. It's this company out of England that kind of republishes, reprints old and current, because I think they have like a Jurassic Park, which I guess is old now, but they have like, they do Game of Thrones. They just published released the fourth Game of Thrones book. But they publish beautiful editions of books, and sometimes they're very high priced and sometimes not. But I found this at my favorite used bookstore, Blue Cypress Books, which is in New Orleans. They are great. They're used and new, and it's always like a lovely treasure hunt to go in there. But Josephine Tey's Daughter of Time. And I'm buddy reading this with Leandra at, let me get her YouTube channel right, Leandra the TBR 0. I'll tag her in the caption. But, so this is published like 51, I think. But this is considered, I wrote it all down, let's see. This was number 1 on the British Crime Writers Association's top 100 crime novels of all time. And it's number 4 on the Mystery Writers of America's top 100 mystery novels of all time. So, I mean, this is considered a book. And somehow I never heard of it until maybe last year. My husband surprised me with the Josephine Tey book for Christmas, and I never heard of her, period. And I was like, who is this person? And found out she's this, like, kind of really highly regarded mystery writer that I had somehow never heard of. So I picked this up. But Inspector Alan Grant is sort of the lead character in this series. It's a series, I think, of 5. This is, I think, the 3rd in the series. And this kind of goes a little bit different from your standard, like, murder mystery. Inspector Grant hurt his foot, or broke his leg or something, and he's laid up in bed in the hospital, and he's bored out of his mind. And someone brings him photographs he sees, or, like, prints of paintings, and he loves to, like, look at faces and determine by faces what your characteristics are like. Oh, do you have kind eyes? Do you have, like, can you tell by your facial makeup what kind of person you are? That's sort of like a hobby of his. And he gets a painting of King Richard III, who has been historically considered to have murdered his nephews in the Tower back in the day. Like, I think there was like a Shakespeare play about it and whatnot. And it's basically him trying to decide or solve the mystery of whether or not he actually did. So this is like a mystery that's from like the 1400s or something, or maybe, I don't know. It's an old school thing, or like witnesses aren't there, and it's basically just talking to people and I guess reading books about it and trying to decide. So we'll see. I'm really excited about it because it's so highly regarded, and yeah, it's so highly regarded, and it's just so different from the norm of what we expect from like mysteries, what's generally out there. So I'm excited about this one. My next book is, I'm doing for the first time a kind of group read with the Crafty Cozy Mystery Chat. They are on Instagram. I will also put their name down below. They're an Instagram account that just reads cozy mysteries. And they've started we're gonna read this one book a month, and if you wanna join us, let us know, and they'll start like a group message. And everyone can talk about the book in that group message. And I've been following the account for a while, but I've never actually joined in. But this month they're reading a book called Bait and Witch. How funny is that title? I love it. By Angela M. Sanders. It's the first in a series. I think it's been out for a couple of years. I think there's maybe 4 I think the fourth is just coming out or just came out. But my experience with fantasy cozy mysteries is very slim, and the one that I've read, I guess the two that I've read, I actually really, really loved, like compared to some of the regular standard cozy mysteries. So I was like, I am super into this. I didn't even really know what it was about. I was like, yeah, I'll give that a go. But it's the first in a series called Which Way Librarian Mysteries. The librarian, her name is Josie. She apparently flees from DC. She was a librarian at the Library of Congress, and apparently there was like a scandal, something happened. She flees, she goes to this small town in Oregon while waiting for, I guess, this whatever to wrap up. Yeah, apparently there's like multiple mysteries in this. So you have whatever happened there, and then apparently she finds a dead body in the woods outside of her house, and then that's the mystery. And then she apparently just recently finds out she's a witch. So I'm like, cool, I'll give that a go. And I like the idea that it's got more than one mystery involved. That it's not just, and that this DC aspect, I think that'll be exciting and fun. I'm excited about this one. This is called The Three Dahlias by Katy Watson. This is actually a holdover. I had started reading it in September and I didn't finish it. I think I overhyped this in my head because it's not living up to what I expected, but so we'll see. I'm like halfway through it. But I love the concept of this so much. This is about, it's sort of like, not I want to say metafiction, but that feels like that might not be the right term. But it's kind of a send up to Agatha Christie and that cozy mystery English manor kind of story. So instead of having, like, Agatha Christie is the queen of mysteries or the queen of murder or however, whatever her term is, this is about, I'm gonna say her name is Lettice. I'm not 100%. It's Lettice. Every time I read her name, I want to say lettuce, and I go, no, it's got to be Lettice, which also might be my problem with the book, is that every time I say it, I want to say lettuce. Sometimes they say Letty, and that's very helpful. Lettice Davenport, and she's the mistress of poison, I think is what they say her title is, but she's basically an Agatha Christie. She wrote a prolific amount of work from like the 1930s to the 1970s, and she's no longer with us, but she is well loved. And there's been many adaptations of her work, there's been many adaptations of her work. And this book centers around a convention, like a fan convention, about her and these adaptations. And the convention is held at the house where she lived, and the family, like her nephew and his wife, they still own, or her great nephew, doesn't matter. Her nephew and his wife still own the house. This fan convention is going to be at their house. And one of the adaptations was, but it's called The Three Dahlias. So, her Miss Marple, her Hercule Poirot is this woman named Dahlia Lively. And in these adaptations, there was a series of movies played by Rosalind. She's Dahlia number 1. There was a very long-running TV show with Dahlia number 2, whose name is Cora. And then there's a new movie about to start production, and they just cast this actress Posey, and she is Dahlia number 3. Therefore, our 3 Dahlias. And they are brought to this convention and to meet the fans and to, like, it's just a fan convention. You've never been to one, they're kind of fun. And dead bodies happen. And the 3 Dahlias, these 3 actresses, join up together to solve the crime. Was super excited about it, and I'm about halfway through. We'll see how it turns out. So, my next book is The Bad Seed. Do y'all know about The Bad Seed? By William March. I've had this book for ages. I grew up with the movie. Have you seen the movie? So there's this old movie, black and white, probably 50s, 60s, I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. I need to watch it again. Like, grew up with this. We watched this all the time. And apparently I think the Lifetime channel just remade it with McKenna Grace, that charming little actress who's very good, who's in the new Ghostbusters, and she's in all sorts of things. But it's this blonde child who sort of seems her name is Rhoda, and she seems extraordinarily sweet, and it's almost like cloyingly sweet she is. And her mother, it's like, the little girl, they have this running little saying, what would I give you for a basket of kisses? And the mother's like, I'll give you a basket of hugs. And it's this, but the child's psychotic and murders people. And it's sort of like, what do you do as a mother about that? And your family and the psychology. And I think it's kind of got psychology and stuff in it. But so I know what happens. I've seen the movie multiple times, but I've never read it. And I've been kind of curious about it. And recently someone mentioned it somewhere. And I was like, you know, I should pull this out and I should read it. I feel like it might be good for spooky season. So I'm really excited about this one. Also, I've had for a couple years, and I haven't picked up Horrorstör by Grady Hendrix. The only Grady Hendrix thing I've read is the Southern Girls Book Club's Guide to Killing Vampires, which I actually really liked. I went into that thinking it was going to be sort of like a comedy, and then I was like, whoa, this is actual horror, which I don't read a lot, but I actually really liked it. And so I've started collecting all the rest of his books, but I haven't actually delved into them. But so I thought Horrorstör would be a good next book to read. And I think basically, because it's got fun, it's meant to look like a catalog. It's even got like the order form. I mean, look at this. I think it's supposed to be, they're not calling it IKEA, it's Orsk. Orsk is what they're saying. But it's a horror book in an IKEA. It's a night shift. It's a night shift, and things start happening in the Orsk, and these employees have to figure it out. So I'm really excited. I love the format of this, that it's sort of a catalog, and I don't know, I think this will be fun. I think this will be a lot of fun. My next book, this is a middle grade fiction called Dust and Grim by Chuck Wendig. I picked this up from the library. I saw this, I can't remember, someone's Instagram feed, or I saw it just on Goodreads. I can't remember, because I only just found out about this. And I thought this looked fun and cute, but also into spooky season. It's these two estranged siblings who are granted children. Like, I think the main character is 13. Not sure the age of her brother, but their parents die? I'm not sure. But they get left the family business, which is a mortuary for monsters. I don't know, I just think it was really funny and really just a clever idea. Also, I need to find out how the children are running a business. Like, there must be other things involved, but that's not really given of how that is. But I don't know, I'm excited for this. I think that's a funny idea. I think the little girl has to like adjust working with monsters and what that entails. And so I'm just excited for it. I think that sounds like good fun. But Dust and Grim by Chuck Wendig. My next one, my next book is The Wretched Waterpark. It's the first book in the Sinister Summer series by Kiersten White. So I actually read this back in June. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And I'm actually doing like an audio book. If you listen to a couple of my other videos, I do audiobook for nonfiction. I haven't really done audiobooks for fiction books. And I don't think I would kind of enjoy the experience in the same way as I do it physically reading. And so I wanted to listen to, for my experiment, I'm listening to books that I kind of just read. Because I don't want to do a new book and then drift and miss stuff, and because I don't know how I'll do with it. So I wanted to kind of listen to something that I liked and enjoyed, and if I drift and miss stuff, it won't really matter. And I'm reading the second book. Like, my second book is the next one on this list. And so I was like, oh, well, giving this a re-listen, I loved this anyway, this will be fun. So I'm doing this one on audiobook, The Wretched Waterpark. It's these kids, their last name is Sinister, they're not really sinister, but they're kind of dropped off with this aunt by their parents' house. They were dropped off by their parents at this aunt's house, and the aunt gives them a week pass to this gothic-themed water park, and sort of a mystery happens, and they have to solve it, and I mean, I really like it. I'll talk about it in my October wrap up, because that's not the point of this, but I'm going to audiobook this. And then the second book in the series, which I'm going to read, is Vampiric Vacation. From my understanding, it picks up immediately after the first book, and they're going to be brought to a sanguine spa, and it's sort of, there's a count who has 2 children, Lucy and Mina, and so like there's going to be some Dracula vampire shenanigans going on. It's a sanguine spa, and so another mystery, and so I'm just really excited because I loved the first one. I'm going to physically read it, but that's that one. Also, those 2 are both middle grade pieces. The book I'm reading, or I plan on reading, is The Lost Ticket by Freya Sampson, and I think I saw this on Goodreads, or maybe it was Instagram, but someone said it was really charming, and I love charming. And I believe in the British version, it's called The Girl on the 88 Bus, or The Girl from the 88 Bus, something along those lines. If you Google this book and look up book covers, you'll see the British one. But it's this woman, it takes place in London, as in the double-decker bus. But this woman, Libby, she goes through like a breakup. She lives in like Surrey. She moves to London to stay with her sister. She gets on the bus pretty much right as she gets there and meets this old man. They have a conversation. You find out that this takes place present day, back in the 1960s, he met this beautiful, vivacious woman on the bus. They planned to have a date. She wrote her number on a bus ticket. He lost the bus ticket and he regrets it ever since. And he rides the bus every day, hoping to see her on this bus, and so he can reunite with this woman. And Libby is touched by his story. She says she will help him try to find, maybe like make something go viral, or just help him try to find this woman. And there's a collection of people they meet along the way. She meets this man. There's a romance there. Just sort of the people on the bus, they're going to try to help this man find this woman. And I'm hoping it's as charming as everyone in the Goodreads reviews say it is. My next book is Vera Kelly, Lost and Found. I've talked about the first 2 in my August wrap-up. This is the 3rd in the series. I'm unclear if it's the final. They haven't really said, as far as I can tell, how many are supposed to be in this series. And I almost don't even know what it's about. I don't almost care. Also by Rosalie Knecht. K-N-E-C-H-T. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. But it's about, I had to look it up to see what it was about, because I was like, I'm reading this no matter what, because I love the first 2. But she was like a spy in the first book. She's a private dick in the second book. But it's this LGBT woman in the late 60s, early 70s, kind of solving mysteries in a way, or kind of solving mysteries along the way. And when I looked this one up, she's in a relationship. They go to LA, her partner's family, who she's estranged from, movie studios, Hollywood. I actually kind of thought this was going to deal with Stonewall, because the other book was sort of leading that way, and I get the idea that this maybe isn't, and so that surprised me. So I will probably do a whole separate video on the whole series, because I love the first 2 books. Hopefully I will love this one the same. So I'm super excited. I need to get to this one, because this one's been on my TBR for a couple of months and I keep putting it off. I need to get to this one. Y'all, let's talk. So I discovered, Noel Streatfeild, she wrote Ballet Shoes. If you're not familiar, if you've ever watched You've Got Mail, the Meg Ryan character, she talks about, she's in Tom Hanks's bookstore, and someone's asking an employee, do you have the ballet shoes, the shoes books? And the employee doesn't know, because she works in a big bookstore and she doesn't know what she's talking about. And Meg Ryan's like, oh, yes, the shoes book. Ballet shoes and theater shoes and dancing shoes. Oh, I love those, that whole bit. So Ballet Shoes is one of my favorite books of all time. And I only just found out, and these are books that were written in the 30s, and so there isn't like a ton of information about the author. I mean, there is information, but it's not like if you were reading about an author today, somebody who is famous. And so I just found out that apparently she wrote under a non-diploma books for adults, for adult women, I guess specifically, but adults, under the name Susan Scarlett. And she wrote these light romances. And I'm assuming when I say romances, it's just girl meets boy. At the end, they get married or something. There's not going to be like sex on the page. I'm sure there's not even sex off the page. It's going to be like fluffy romance. But are you familiar with Furrowed Middlebrow? That is a term. So I came to it a couple months ago. I think I'm not sure if it's bloggers or actually academics or whatever, but they're taking this term, Furrowed Middlebrow, to describe books that were written from maybe the 20s to the 50s by British female authors, and that their books were directed at females. So books written by British women for women. And these sorts of books, I've read Miss Bumple's book, which is considered that, by D.E. Stevenson, and I'm in the middle of another one, Much Dithering, which I don't love, and so I've started it months ago and haven't finished it. But they all seem a little bit like women who know what's up. Like women who are still living in that life of what the 20s, 30s, 40s of British and being women entail and what your expectations are, but also know that like, I mean, it's not serious. It's not like that's where the middle brow comes in. It's not like lowbrow humor, and it's not super highbrow, but it sort of seems to know what's up. At least that's what I take from it. And I find them charming and weirdly meta. Like if someone wrote them today, it would be this like, oh, interesting commentary on life back in the day, but this is written back in the day. But so there's this publisher called Dean Street Press who's been republishing all of these. And they just republished all of these Noel Streatfeild, Susan Scarlett books. There's 12 of them. And so I'm like, y'all, the meltdown I had when I found out these existed. But the first one, I couldn't find a great picture of the cover, but it's called Clothes Pegs. And I think this woman is a seamstress, and the department store that she works for needs a model. She's pretty enough, they make her a model. And then her family thinks she becomes above her station. I think she meets like maybe the son of the department store owner, and of course they fall in love, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just really excited because I don't really know how these are gonna be. And I love the way she writes for children and how she even writes adults in her children's books. So I'm super excited. I don't even really know what I'm getting into, but really excited about it. So I'm also super excited. I've been waiting. I had requested it from the library because some reason the library just wasn't carrying it normally. But the American Girl books. Are y'all familiar with the American Girl books that were like big when I was a child? I mean, they still exist, but I have no idea what their level of popularity is. But they released a new doll and book called Claudie. She is a girl in the 1920s, 1922 Harlem Renaissance. And I got so excited when I heard about that. I haven't read an American Girl book. I'm not even sure. I think Kit might have been the last one I read, and I've been aware of a few of them as they came out, but I haven't read their books. And this is the first one that really kind of got me, and I was like, I want to read it. Well, what also got me, so meet Claudie, is that it's written by Brit Bennett, the woman who wrote The Vanishing Half, which is one of my favorite books from last year, and was a New York Times bestseller. And Brit Bennett wrote this. So that's all I even really know about it. I don't care. Brit Bennett wrote this, and I've been waiting forever. I had to request it from the library, and it's been like, waiting for pending, and then it finally came in, so I'm so excited for this. So we'll see how this lives up to the hype that I built for this in my head. This one, I don't know if I'm going to get to. I keep putting it on my list and I keep not reading it. I'm so intimidated by it. But Emma, Jane Austen, she's a matchmaker? I'm not even sure. It's Clueless, right? It's Clueless. Or Clueless is this. I've read Pride and Prejudice. I love Pride and Prejudice. I've read Mansfield Park. I don't think I loved it. I read it in college, which is too long ago, and I don't really remember it. I'm like, he dated her cousin. He dated his cousin. and I made inappropriate fanny jokes. Like, that's all I remember about this book. And I read Sense and Sensibility, which I remember not liking. So I'm more miss than hit with Austen, so I've been really intimidated to read this. But I've had a couple of friends, I've talked with a couple of friends who were like, no, you should read it. I think you'll like it. I didn't like the ones you didn't like either, but I really liked this. So I need to get to it. And also, this seems massive to me. So I'm just really intimidated by this. So eventually I will get to this, and this may be on my TBR list for the next couple of months. We'll see. Please tell me if y'all like it or hate it in the captions. Not in the captions, in the comments. Tell me how you feel about Emma. So my last of my physical TBR is The Mysterious Affair Styles. The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie. So I kind of made it a goal this year, which, haven't done at all, but my goal is to start reading all of Agatha Christie's books in the order of publication. Not just Hercule Poirot in order, Miss Marple in order, each individual thing. I really kind of want to see, her level of writing and how it progresses and all that stuff. And then that way I won't get sick of Poirot and sick of Miss Marple. I'll kind of, be able to intersperse it. And I don't have an end game goal with this. It's just, I read a lot of Agatha Christie in my early 20s. And I don't remember which ones I read. I know I've read Murder on the Orient Express. I know I've read And Then There Were None. Maybe Body in the Library, because I feel like I read one that had a library. But there's a bunch where I read and I'm like, I don't know what I read. We'll probably remember when I go, oh yeah, I've read this. But this is the first book she's ever written, and this is the first Hercule Poirot story. And as far as I know, it's just, standard country house estate murder mystery. I haven't tried to figure out too much more than that, so I can just be pleasantly surprised when I get there, because maybe I've read it. I don't know. But yeah. My next book is Jenifer Lewis, The Mother of Hollywood. I plan on listening to this on audio. I finished in September Walking in My Joy, which is the most recent book that she's written. I didn't even know this existed. And she talked about having this one. And so I was like, oh, I should listen to it. Jenifer Lewis. I came to Jenifer Lewis shamefully through Blackish. Not shamefully as in Blackish is a bad show. I feel like I came to Jenifer Lewis way too late in life, because she's been around for a while doing awesome things in Hollywood. And I guess I probably came to her from Fresh Prince, but I didn't know any better, and I didn't know, because she plays one of Aunt Viv's sisters in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. My husband and I were doing a rewatch. I'm like, Jenifer Lewis! But she is Grandma Ruby in the series Blackish. And she just seems like an awesome woman. And I was kind of scrolling through Libby through audiobooks. I needed an audiobook to listen to, and I saw she had this other book. I listened to it and really enjoyed it. And she referenced this one. And the other one is more just essays about certain things that happened to her and kind of more recently. And this is more just a memoir of her life. And a little hesitant because I'm afraid it's going to be really sad. Because she kind of talks a little bit about her childhood and how they were very poor when she was growing up. And I'm just like, oh no, is this going to be like Viola Davis's book, which was traumatic. But she's got such a great voice and such a great attitude, and I think she is a great storyteller. And so I am excited / a little hesitant to give this one a listen. So we'll see how that one goes. Next one, and this is more to finish because I've started it. It's called Murder by the Book, Mysteries for Bibliophiles. And bibliophiles are people who just love books. And it's edited by Martin Edwards, and it's published by British Library Crime Classics. And it's a bunch of short stories tied together thematically by books. Either books are stolen, or books are the clue, or the characters are an author, or they're book collectors, or the book is sort of the tie-through. And some of them are a little more a little bit of a reach, but these are all from the Golden Age British authors. And I've read about half of it so far, because what I've been doing is I'm not a huge short story person, but I'm actually super loving it, but I'm only halfway through-ish. is that I'll read a book, read a couple of short stories, read a book, read a short story, kind of going back and forth with it, and I really kind of want to finish it so I can give it a good review, or just a review in general, but so far it's a good review. And I got this as an ARC from the publishers, and I'm thinking I'm going to get a physical copy because this has been delightful, and each little story comes with a little, just a small tidbit of the bio of the author of that story, and I'm finding so many authors I didn't know existed, and I'm like, oh, I love that short story. I'll have to go find these people because they were maybe really popular in their heyday, but they've lost, the books have fallen out of print, so forth and so on. So I'm glad to find these new authors, and I'm like in my digital copy screen capping bits and pieces, and so like I really need to just get a physical copy. But there's even a short story from A.A. Milne, I don't think I've heard it said, but the guy who wrote Winnie the Pooh. Apparently he wrote tons of other stuff in all sorts of genres, but he's famous for Winnie the Pooh. But he's got a famous mystery novel, which I found out through the Folio Society. I haven't read it yet, but I don't even own it. But eventually I'll get there. But there's a short story of his in here that was really clever. And so it's a really fun little book, and I'm finding it really satisfying so far, but I really just want to finish it. And my last book is also an ARC. Cozy Mystery, Steeped in Secrets by Lauren Elliott. It's the first in a new mystery series called A Crystals and Curiosities mystery. This woman inherits an eclectic tea and psychic shop. She's an empath. A dead body shows up in the shop or something, and she's gonna solve the mystery. And like I said earlier, the two that I've read that are fantasy cozy mysteries where they're like witchy or spellish and whatever, I've really, really liked. So I'm excited for it. We'll see how it goes. And I've been in like the cozy mystery mood a little bit. It's been a few months since I've read one. So I'm excited. Fingers crossed they'll all turn out well. So that's my TBR for October. I'm really excited for it. Hopefully I can push through a bunch of them. And I'm also a vibe reader, so I may drift and pick up something else. We'll see. But what's on my list that you've read, or what are you excited to read? Let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe if you haven't. And thanks for stopping by. I love you guys. Bye.